All right, Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with Sergio from Rise to the Sky. Thank you very much for doing it tonight, man. Appreciate it very, very much. I know we're in many different time zones right now, so uh, again, thanks for doing this. But I guess the first question I really have is, why don't you tell us a little bit about the band and kind of how it all came to be?
Great. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, it's really great to talk to you. And well, let me tell you a little bit about the band then. So, this is a one-man band, and this came out for me like a necessity. I needed to do this. I always wanted to have a band like with other people, but unfortunately, I mean, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and honestly, there's not much people I know that are into this music. I mean, doom metal and funeral doom or death doom. I mean, nobody really knows what it is, and not many people listen to it. So I still wanted to do it. I was listening at that point. This was around 2018, 2019, to bands that were doom metal, black metal, post black metal. And then I started to get into some of these one man bands, Unrequited, Violet Cold. And I saw that this was possible and the music was great. So I was like, I need to do this. I mean, I'm going to go with this project. So I started to learn about how to do it, how to work with the software and everything. And then I just went for it. But it also came as a necessity, like emotionally, because my music or the idea of my music is transmitting all sorts and types of emotions, things that I have inside from my past that I needed to express in some way. It's very difficult for me to speak about certain things. I just don't do it. I mean, I just keep stuff for myself.
Mhm.
But when I write music, when I write melodies and riffs, I think it's easier for me to express myself that way, and especially these like strong, deep emotions. I think I can express them that way way much better.
Okay.
So that's how Rise to the Sky came to be.
Cool. So yeah, I was gonna say, being from Chile, I don't know too many Chilean doom death bands. I know one that I've listened to for a number of years, which is Poma Arcanis.
Yeah, great
But
band.
that's really about the only one that I've ever heard or actually followed. So that's really cool. Um, I kind of want to talk about some bands, especially for the last record, Let Me Drown With You, that kind of I hear influences on, and I want to see if it's something that we have a similar vibe with or not. So I hear a lot of Saturnus. I hear a lot of November's Doom. I hear a band called Shape of Despair a whole lot, and then probably you're not going to say as much, but I do. I hear a lot of Anathema, and then I would say early My Dying Bride, especially with like the violin or string arrangements and the occasional female vocals here or there that are on some of your records. That's kind of what it is. Were these influences at all, or were they something that like you heard later on?
Yeah, I think you got it. I mean, many of these bands you mentioned have played a large influence in my music. I would say mainly My Dying Bride. This was one of the first bands that got me into Doom and to liking Doom. I remember listening to The Dreadful Hours,
Uh-huh.
long time ago, and I was blown away by it, listening to it like every day, all day, and it's a huge influence. And then all the other records, and especially the way they have like an atmosphere that it feels kind of cold and melancholic, and I don't know. I think it's one of my greatest influences. Well, Saturnus, I'm not, I don't know every record they have.
Okay.
I've listened to some. I really like the vocals of Saturnus. And yeah, I would say that, I mean, it's a sound that I really enjoy, and especially the vocals. Shape of Despair, yes. I mean, this is, yeah, I love Shape of Despair. Angels of Distress, I think, is one of the best albums I've heard.
Nice.
I love it. I just love the atmosphere. I love the rhythm it has. I love the vocals. It's great. It's a
Yeah.
great album, and it's also a great influence. This Shape of Despair, I think it's a band that started or led me to think about piano arrangements, synths, things like that. So yeah, it's a huge influence. Anathema, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really heard Anathema in detail, so I wouldn't know. I've gotten some comments that we have some similarities, but I really couldn't tell. One other band that is a great influence to me is Celestial Season,
Okay.
but especially their album Solar Lovers.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the greatest influences in my music. And also, I guess in my life, I mean, at the end, you listen to these albums and they become kind of a part of you, and you go to them at certain times when things are hard, or yeah, I mean, they become like a part of you. So yeah, that would be my. I think you got it. Most of those bands are a great influence indeed. Yeah.
Nice. So I kind of wanted to talk about, you've only been around for a couple of years, but you have 2 EPs and 3 full lengths out. So that's kind of like a massive production. I record Doom Death myself, and I've been doing it for 30 years, and I have albums out. But man, it's like one every 4 years. So like, like, but
Yeah.
what made you so productive on having 2 EPs and 3 full lengths out in the span of 3 years?
Well, I think there are many factors, but last 2 years, I think my music is kind of a way where I kind of focus on something and express myself and go through the things I need to say. I think lockup and the pandemic and everything has also played a part, because most of the time I'm just teleworking and I'm at home listening to music and using like every single free moment I have to play, record, or think of. I mean, I still think of music all day, but I think that the biggest reason behind it is what's been happening to me. Things like, for instance, being away from home, from my loved ones, for some time to travel, and then like coming back and with ideas and needing to put those into albums, into songs. Hard things that have happened also in my life that I kind of feel like there's a necessity to do music. It's better than going to a therapist, I think.
Okay.
So kind of a way. I mean, it's kind of a escape valve or something like that for me, and I really enjoy it. And I spend all my free times. I mean, whenever I can, I can be all day creating music, thinking about it, dreaming about it. Many of my concepts and ideas come from dreams or from things from the day-to-day stuff you do, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess I just got really into it, and I never stopped, and I enjoy it. I mean, I really love it. I mean, every single moment I have, I spend it on music. That's a lot of hard work, a lot.
No, absolutely. Awesome. So I kind of want to talk about some of the layers on. So the 2 albums I've really focused on are your last two. So the Cold Embrace from Life, the EP, and the Let Me Drown with You. What I really dig about these 2 records in particular, I did listen to the one before that, which the Death Will Not Keep Us Apart, but I'm going to say that seems to have more of a death metal overtone than these last two. These last two kind of have more of an atmospheric, kind of doomy, almost folky elements at times. So like it kind of calls to me a little bit more. But I kind of wanted to ask, like, where did the folk and atmosphere come from? Because there's a lot of really cool like acoustic interludes and things like that that you normally don't hear in this kind of music. Like where did that mindset come from?
Yeah, I think you're right. These are very different albums, especially Death Will Not Keep Us Apart. which it's more of a death doom. It doesn't have as many atmospheric elements as the other ones. I would say that there are two basic things that are playing this role. So the first one would be the ideas behind it. Death Will Not Keep Us Apart is an album that I made basically for my wife. It was while I was away and I had this dream about us, and I was trying to escape with her from an apocalyptic world, from death. Then we went to a cliff and she couldn't get up the cliff. So then I decided that instead of both saving ourselves in the cliff, we would both just die together. So this was a dream I had, and then I thought, okay, I'm gonna put this I need to put this on an album. I mean, it was that concept behind it. So it's kind of a metaphor, and I think the album has also that romantic vibe. It has many melodic elements. She sings in some parts. She has vocals in some parts. So I really wanted to make it more of a romantic death kind of album. These other ones, the two ones you mentioned, were done in very close together. A Cold Embrace from Life is an EP that has a totally different motive, a totally different inspiration, and Let Me Drown With You also. They are based on personal experiences. I think it's fair, and my music is honest, so I'm going to be very honest about the ideas behind this. A Cold Embrace from Life, let me show it to you here. So this is the album, right? The cover, everything, it's one piece of art, and it's based on an experience that I had with my wife. We had a miscarriage. So when that took place a couple of years ago, it was like very painful. And I took that. We really never paid much attention to it. And it became sort of a problem afterwards. And I made this album for that. I mean, I wanted to speak out about that. And this was this album. I kind of needed to put some acoustic, more folky elements, because the atmosphere I wanted to create was kind of not a romantic atmosphere, but more of I don't know, like a nurturing atmosphere, maybe something more, I don't know, mild in some way. It was just the kind of sound I wanted to have. Also, there's something about the influences that I have. I've always listened to classical music. I like it a lot, and I like classical guitar a lot also. So I wanted to incorporate that in some way. That's why I started to experiment with this interludes and acoustic parts, and yeah, it really worked out. And then I kept on going with that idea for the album Let Me Drown With You, this last one that you reviewed. And sonically, I mean, the sounds are very similar to A Cold Embrace from Life. The atmosphere, I also wanted to be similar, because the idea behind that album is also kind of similar in a way. It's about loss.
Cool. Yeah, no, and that's what I was going to say, is those two are very, very similar in sound and production. So I was wondering if they kind of were just feeding off of each other, and you kind of explained that they are. So that's really cool. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is, I know nothing about GS Productions. Okay, like until I listened to you, I didn't know anything. I kind of wanted to ask, like, why limit the CD to such a small number? Like, why to just 100 copies? Was that something that the label wanted to do, something you wanted to do? Kind of talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So GS Productions is a label from Russia. They have a lot of bands that are signed to them. They do mostly funeral doom, death doom, and also some black metal, and they have bands from all over the world. I wanted to go with a label from Europe because my audience is mainly in Europe, also in the US, but I found a chance in GS Productions, and they offered a smaller quantity of albums, but at a higher quality. So I wanted to make sure that the albums were printed in the quality, the top quality, the best quality I could get, and GS Productions guaranteed that was going to happen. The artwork I usually have for my albums is also top of the line. I've worked with two artists, Gogo Melon, which is really good. She's great. I mean, she does a very professional job, and she knows exactly how to translate my music into art. And Augusto Peixoto, which is a Portuguese artist, he's also very good, and he does. I mean, it's a piece of art. When you see this cover, I mean, it's really something. I mean, it's a piece of art. So I wanted it to be in a way that it would be good quality, high quality. So I rather have less albums, higher quality. Yeah. Also, there's a financial reason. I mean, unfortunately, today people don't buy many CDs. So, I mean, for the first albums, it's really hard to get a deal where you get too many albums. I mean, I don't know, like 500 or 600 or 1,000. I mean, um, it was difficult for me to get a deal like that. Also being, from Chile, nobody knows really where it is. It's far away, one-man band. So yeah, I found a balance and a good opportunity there, and I took it. And it's been really good. I mean, it's a good label. The quality is really good for the CDs, and people are buying it. Actually, today I just sold out all my copies of Let Me Drown With You just
Nice.
today, and the release was less than a week ago. So I mean, it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic to hear. So I guess the next thing I'm going to kind of talk about is why not vinyl, especially for this kind of format. And the reason why I'm asking is vinyl seems to be like the doom metal stronghold right now. Every doom band has vinyl out because it's more of a personal music. People seem to really like to sit and listen and look at the art and read the lyrics. I see that the label does vinyl as well too. Have you had any conversations about that or?
Not really. The truth is, I haven't thought about it. It wasn't an idea that crossed my mind, but many people have mentioned this and asked if this is going to be on vinyl. I would have to look into that, because really today, I mean, it would be great. It would be really good. And I would look into that opportunity, but I really haven't done much search on vinyl. I personally don't use vinyl, but I mean, it's got my attention because many releases today, like you say, are on vinyl, and apparently it sounds really good and it's really cool. I mean, yeah,
No, it
could be
is.
maybe for the future. I don't know.
No, it absolutely is. Like I love vinyl releases. They sound great. They look great. And when you have you open up a gatefold and it's actually full artwork and not just a small little CD, it's something special. And to me, your music definitely would fit that kind of vibe. So
Sounds good. I mean, when you put it like that, and that's actually true. I mean, if you look up, the cover would be like in a bigger
yep.
format. I mean, sounds really, yeah, that's a good
Awesome.
idea. I'm gonna look into that. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about how you create the music because I know you talked a little bit about the emotional and the themes, but is every album created similarly, like where music is first, lyrical ideas? How do you go in to start a record?
Yeah. So I would say that I usually, like technically, start with guitars and drums because I'm a guitarist. I mean, before doing this one man doom and everything, I just play guitar. Uh, the other stuff came after, playing bass, playing the drums. So guitar for me, it's a really like easy way to write music. So I usually start with that and drums, and then I move from there. But this all comes with like you said, like a personal experience or some feeling before. Because I have tried sometimes to just write a good song, and it doesn't come out. I mean, I need to be in the proper mood, in the with my head on an idea, and then the ideas kind of flow. About the vocals are a very important part, but I usually do that. That's the last thing I do, the vocals. I feel the song needs to be complete with harmonies, with all the melodic stuff, with strings, with all the instruments together, and then you can really express vocally what you want. I mean, I don't do it the other way around because I think you need all that atmosphere ready to express your vocals in the best possible way.
Okay, awesome. So I want to kind of feed off of that because I'm probably an anomaly and I love just guttural vocals all the time. But a lot of people, it's kind of overkill to them. And I was wondering, have you ever thought about adding like a mixture of clean and guttural? Not so much just like, because from what I hear, there's not even melodic vocals. It's straight doom death like vocals all the time. Is there a particular reason that you leave them so brutal and the music more atmospheric, or have you ever thought about kind of mixing in more atmospheric kind of vocals as well too?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's there in some of my early music. I recorded clean vocals um, with some of my first songs. Death Will Not Keep Us Apart, I think, has one or two songs that have clean vocals
Mhm.
mixed with growling vocals, but it it wasn't enough. I mean, I really thought that to express this type of emotions, I needed to go full way with the growling vocals. It may seem a little repetitive for some people, but it really, I mean, I don't see it or feel it any other way. I mean, it has to be like that. That's like the gut feeling I have for this type of music. It's I could do it, and maybe I will in the future, but for now, for the ideas I have and the music I want to make and the ideas I want to express, it needs to be like this, and just to create that atmosphere.
Cool. So I guess where I'm going to go from this is you could make a video off of any one of the songs that you have off the new record. Let's just focus on the Let Me Drown With You. Is there a certain song that you have in mind that you would love to be able to make a like, a true long form, like, video with a nice production?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are many songs that I really like from this album. The first single, Liebestod, which means in German love death or death love. That song, it's very powerful, emotional. I think it captures the ideas of this album very well. That could be a really good song to make into a video. Also, the song "Leaving This World." This is a song that's more on the funeral side, and this song is also one that I think would fit really well in a nice video production with yeah, it would be really good. I think any of those two would be really good, and I think they express the ideas very well. especially Liebestod on the first part, which is more about life, dreams, and passion, love, things that happen in life. Also like the usual bad stuff. Not everything is great, right? And leaving this world for chapter 2, death, grief, and transformation. I think it's a really like characteristic song of the ideas on that chapter. So any of those two would be really, really interesting to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so you actually mentioned my favorite track, and that's was something I was going to talk about, which is leaving this world. Like that song probably spoke to me most out of any of the new record, just because it is absolutely a funeral doom song. Like to me, like it reminds me. And I'm an old guy, I'm 48. So like I've been doing this for a really long time. So it reminds me of those old Finnish kind of death doom bands. So like more of the Skepticisms and the Thurgathons out in that world. And that's where I started. Like that's where I found the death doom and funeral doom. So I was kind of wanting to know, do you have a particular favorite funeral doom band overall? That like, is there one that kind of speaks to you?
Yeah. Well, I would say, Shape of Despair, if you consider that funeral, because some people, yeah, it would be Shape of Despair. But another band that plays a huge influence, and for this type of songs also, it's a band called Funeral.
Yeah, yeah.
Funeral, the early stuff they have, it has, it's more funeral than funeral.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So I think any of those two, Shape of Despair or Funeral, those are, yeah, some of my favorite funeral doom bands. The ones you mentioned, Skepticism, to be honest, I haven't heard much about them, to be honest. I know they have a ton of stuff, but I haven't had the time to listen to that like with the detail it deserves. I should. I know I should, but I haven't done so. So I couldn't say that's maybe it becomes my favorite band in the future, but right now I haven't been able to listen to it properly.
No, no, not a problem. Yeah, I think you would love Skepticism. It absolutely fits the atmospheres of what you do. And then speaking of funeral, that's phenomenal because I'm actually friends with those guys, and unfortunately, one of the members that passed was a dear friend. So, like we literally worked together. We were actually about to run a record label together before he passed. So, uh, yeah, so like that makes me smile that you're a huge funeral fan because like that's a special band to me as well too. So that's very very cool. The next thing I kind of want to ask was, would you ever want to do this live? Is this something that would be interest to you to perform? Because being just a one man project, I'm sure that's not something you would want to do just by yourself. Like you would want to have a band performing this kind of material.
Absolutely. I mean, this is in my projects for the future. When this pandemic is over, I want to play this live. I want to do this on stage. I mean, that's the next step. Right now, it's very difficult to do it, almost impossible. I mean, with the quarantines and not being able to travel or rehearse or anything. I mean, it's kind of impossible right now, but it's in my future plans. Definitely. I mean, I think this live would be very nice to hear. I think so.
Cool. And so taking it off of that, what would you want it to be like live? Like, would you want it to be just like the record? Are you looking for different kinds of atmospheres? Would it be more visual? Like, what would you be looking for to make this a live performance?
Well, my idea at this point would be, well, I would like obviously to be able to do the vocals live at
Hmm.
least. I think the atmospheric parts, I mean, instruments, synths, that could be maybe recorded or something like that. And then all the live instruments, I mean, drums, bass, guitars, they need to be live.
Sure.
I would like it to be more as of a music experience and not so much about the visuals. I think music is more important at this point than the visuals. I would focus more on the musical part. Yeah, for
Nice.
sure.
Okay. So I always ask this question as well. So I kind of want to get your feedback on it too, because it's always interesting to see what another artist thinks. So let's say you're in a record store. Yes, they still do exist. All right, but let's there's some kid standing there. He picks up your CD for the very first time and he's looking at it, and he looks at you. He doesn't even know you're in the band. He just goes, "Hey, have you heard this? What do you think about this?" How would you explain that to him for the very first time to either inspire him to purchase it or at least listen to it?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Yeah. So, well, definitely I would talk about it. I would say that this is a CD um, that will impact you emotionally. If you're looking for emotions, for feelings, for honesty on your music, this is a band you need to hear. Um, I would be very straightforward about the type of music it is. I know it's not for everyone.
Sure.
It it can be a little repetitive for some. I would say that the main characteristic is that it's music that it's emotional, it's slow, it's powerful, and it will impact you. So if you're looking for that, you should definitely get this particular album.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So I guess what I would ask now is, have you gotten any feedback or reviews or comments from a fan that have either been ultimately positive or negative and have influenced you either way? Like, have you gotten something that you were like, oh no, I definitely can hear that, or wow, I've never ever thought of it that way before in my life?
Yeah, all the time. Since the beginning, I've had feedback. I usually consider all type of feedback when it's something constructive to improve my music. I think this is a crucial part. I've done this with the first album and try to improve the sound of the drums, of the guitars, of the vocals. We've discussed this also a lot with my producer, with Filipos Koleopanos, who does my mixing, mastering, and we work a lot on the sound and what should be like higher, lower volume, or this should sound thicker, or so. I've used all the constructive feedback I've gotten, which is a lot, and I've incorporated in the music that usually I get a lot of positive feedback.
Nice.
There's a lot of people that love this music, and that kind of keeps me going, and it's like the fuel to work. I mean, I just kind of feel like I need to improve and work hard because there's people out there that like it and that kind of need it. I personally have a great bond with music. I remember, for instance, let me give you an example of that. When I had a terrible breakup with a girlfriend I was kind of devastated. I had to go to work and I only kept thinking about that. Inside, I was feeling awful. And the one thing that was kind of comforting was the music that Typo Negative was doing. And I remember listening to that through that period like a lot and being able to feel some sort of comfort while going through that terrible period. So some of the feedback I've gotten, it's on that line, like things like really emotional stuff, like people that have lost parents and that said that listening to this music gives them comfort. I
Yeah.
think this is something that for me it's so rewarding, and it's something that I mean I really think I would like to keep on doing this with all the honesty I can, because it helps some people. Just like it helped me at some point, I want to also do the same for other people. And there's also negative feedback. I mean, there's people that really don't like it. They don't like the growling vocals, or they think it's too slow. I mean, there's always that type of, not everyone's gonna like it. And I accept that. I mean, it's not for everyone, I know.
Cool, cool. No, yeah, and like I said, it's absolutely for me. So that wasn't the reason why I was asking that. I always love to see how people kind of take the feedback and grow with it as well. So that's awesome. So this is probably going to be the most difficult question that I ask because I always love to ask this to one man projects. All right. There are so many bands today that are kind of bedroom bands, as I call them. They don't play live, they make music, and they're kind of just there. And then there's the bedroom bands that are productive, like they try and get records out, they try and do videos, they try and like at least get the influences out to people. Do you feel that today, with Spotify and Bandcamps and all this, that it makes it more difficult with so many people trying to put subpar music out there to get music that is well done, well produced to the proper channels, to the proper people? Because I'm going to tell you, I've seen it a lot where 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'd have 5, 6, 7 labels talk to me. Now I gotta my stuff to 40 people before one person even talks to me about it because they have a desk of 15 demos of bedroom bands. So do you feel this is a positive or a negative with this digital age and that everybody can be a bedroom band?
Well, it has both sides. It has negative stuff, it has positive stuff. Like you said, there's many one-man bands out there. Creating music today is more accessible than ever. You can buy an interface, have a laptop and a couple of instruments, and then you can make something fairly easy with not too much money. And there's a lot of competition, and labels are kind of struggling. So I can see like sending or bands sending to labels and getting no response. I mean, that's a reality. But on the other hand, this digital age, Spotify, but I would say mainly Bandcamp. Bandcamp is a site that kind of opened the way for many underground bands. Mm-hmm. It's a platform that allows you to go out to the world, expose your music in a really simple way and accessible, and to get some decent income. I mean, Spotify helps because you can get your name out there. People will listen to it. Also, the other ones, Apple Music, Deezer, those help. And I mean, to get your name out there. But the platform that I think really makes a difference for underground bands, at least, is Bandcamp. And you don't need a label to be on Bandcamp. You can print your albums yourself, sell them, ship them, and do everything yourself. I mean, it's kind of the best platform today, I think, for underground bands. If it wasn't for Bandcamp, things would be very, very difficult. I think there will be fewer bands being able to do this constantly or in a sustainable manner. That helps a lot. Bandcamp is crucial in this type of music.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I mean, imagine my particular case. I'm in Santiago, Chile, far away from almost all the countries, and I can get my music out there with a click, and people can hear it in the United States, in Europe. I've been shipping stuff to Japan. I mean, it's a possibility that I don't think was possible It's something that wasn't possible maybe a decade or two decades ago. Not as easy as this. I mean, it's very accessible today. Yeah.
No, awesome. So I guess what I'll ask is, I just have a couple more questions and then we'll close this out. But the next thing is where do you see Rise to the Sky going? Is it going to keep a similar element? Are there a lot of surprises coming for new material? Like, where do you see it going from here?
Well, I'm working a lot. So definitely you'll hear a lot more from Rise to the Sky. I mean, this is not going to be the last release. I have more music coming up, and I think it's going to be on a similar vibe. I'm trying to keep this as honest as possible. I'm trying to use every source of inspiration I can to put it into this project. So you'll see more from that. Things so far have been going great and growing. People are more interested in this music, so I'm quite happy with that, and I hope that it just keeps moving forward in that direction. I can see, I don't know, maybe the possibility of the next albums being a little more, even more intimate than this other one that I had right now. There's some recent events that happened in my life. Well, my father passed away a couple of months ago. When that happened, I had already recorded the album Let Me Drown With You. We were actually talking about it with him during New Year's Eve. That's the last time I spoke to him on that occasion. And he was always interested in my music, and he really liked the project. He thought it was amazing. I mean, oh, you're doing albums, and he always loved music. So, I mean, it was kind of an interesting thing to him. So when I thought about releasing this album, I thought maybe I shouldn't do it with all this happening. But on the other hand, I said, no, he liked this project, so I should do it, and I should do it on his honor. But at that point, when that happened a couple of months ago, this, I mean, obviously it impacted me a lot, but it also gave me like more strength to do music. I mean, this is the type of stuff that I really find difficult to talk about. So I just put that on music, on lyrics, and yeah, you'll be hearing from that. I mean, those are the things that you'll be hearing from my band in the future. Those type of emotions, those type of feelings. I'm just gonna be as honest as I've been so far, and I'm gonna just put it all out there in the music.
Cool. Thank you. So we've reached the final question. Congratulations. We're actually at the end of this. I again just want to say thank you so very, very much for doing this, because I love being able to expose and be able to show the world new bands. And I've listened to your the EP and the last record especially quite a bit. It really does move me in ways that doom metal should. So that's very cool. But my last question is always the same one, and I just want to see what your thought process is on this. So let's say you handed Let Me Drown With You to any artist for them to be able to interpret it in their own style. What band, what artist, living, dead, I don't care who it is, who would you want to hand it to and see what they make out of these songs?
That's a good question, and I have a really fast answer. I would hand it to Peter Steele from Typo Negative. He did some covers, amazing covers of some songs that weren't his, and I would love to hear his interpretation of my music and his vocals on my songs. That would be amazing. Unfortunately, I mean, that's not possible. Well, but no, that would be amazing, amazing.
So I'm gonna ask a little bit off of this. I grew up in New York. I knew Pete Steele I actually did shows with them, so like this is kind of just a personal thing for me. So would it be more carnivore-esque, or would it be more typo negative-esque that you would want from Pete Steele? Uh,
No, definitely typo negative. Yeah, definitely that type of music, and maybe the early stages of typo negative, like slow, deep, and hard, like that kind of thing. Yeah, that would be really interesting to hear. Yeah.
Cool. Very, very cool. Awesome. So again, Sergio, thank you so very much for this. Really do appreciate the time. Again, Rise to the Sky. Their album is out now on GS Productions through Bandcamp. You can get it digitally pretty much anywhere. I'm going to let you have the last couple of minutes to talk about anything you want. It's kind of your platform. Here you go.
Thank you, Clint. So this was great. Thank you for having me, for giving me the opportunity to talk about my album. You'll definitely hear more from me. I'm going to keep working very hard on delivering music for you, music that is powerful, that is honest. So please be sure to listen to these albums. Shoot me questions through Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want. I usually read everything and I reply to everything I can. And I'm eager to hear any comments, suggestions from you. So thank you so much again for having me and for listening to my music. It's a tough day to be listened to. I mean, there's so many bands and good bands out there. So I really appreciate giving the time to listen to my stuff. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. Again, Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with Sergio. It's been a blast. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Cliff. Bye.